Hello, and welcome to Artfully Told, where we share true stories about meaningful encounters with art.
I think artists help people have different perspectives on every aspect of life.
All I can do is put my part out into the world.
It doesn't have to be perfect the first time. It doesn't have to be perfect ever, really. I mean, as long as you're enjoying doing it and you're trying your best, that can be good enough.
Art is something that you can experience with your senses and that you just experience as so beautiful.
Hello, and welcome back to Artfully Told. I am your host, Lindsey, and I am excited to be sharing a story from my special guest today, and that is my very own husband, Kevin. Welcome, Kevin. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thanks for having me.
All right, so I know that you have a special story about art that you'd like to share with us today.
I do. Unfortunately, this is going to be a rerun for you.
Okay.
You lived it, and then you heard it
Right.
several times. But I'd like to tell the story of when I was thrown into the deep end of attending ballet. This might surprise you all. There's not a primer out there. There is now because I created it. So check that out later. Flowers are a thing on Facebook. Look it up. But there was not a primer or a how-to or a, what do you call those, quick start guide? There wasn't anything. Yeah.
So you were going to come see a show of mine. Actually, we had just met.
You got that right.
Okay,
Right,
folks.
that's
so
funny
in all
because that's an
fairness,
alert from what is that app?
It's a text messaging app. So yeah, it has nothing to do with what's going on right now, but
Yeah.
good timing.
But she
Perfect
got
timing.
it right. Okay, so let's backtrack. So the first day I met Lindsey was at a church function, and I happened to learn that she was a professional dancer
Yes.
and that she would be performing soon. And I decided, hey, it would be cool if a group of us that were in the church group went and saw the performance. I decided to go ahead and organize this thing, and we got like 6 people to go in and buy tickets and go support her. Now, the interesting thing is that was the first day that I met her. Then I started like planning it and running by like, how do I promote it? Does this email do it justice? I don't know what I'm talking about. Did I use the words right? and that was like a week or 2 in, maybe.
I don't even know if it was that long because we met, and then I want to say either that night or the next day you sent me an email asking if you had the right wording or if I would change anything.
Okay.
It was really pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because the performance was only a couple weeks away at that point. So
fast forward to the day before / day of, I really started to like Lindsey, and I had already decided that I was going to ask her out. But she's got this upcoming performance that was going to be at the Kauffman Center for Performing Arts. That's the legit place in Kansas City.
it's
There's
gorgeous.
not a better...
Professional theater anywhere. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it rivals the one in Sydney, right?
Yeah, the Sydney Opera House, for acoustics. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I wasn't going to ask you out and throw you off your game and either burden you with having to let me down or be so excited that you couldn't think about your work.
Sure.
So yeah, I only think on the opposite ends of the spectrum, apparently.
Right. It wasn't a happy medium where I'm just like, yeah, this works. And
Yeah, whatever, this dude,
And I'll-
never mind.
Details.
So a little while before the performance, like a week before, I decided that I was going to ask you out. Then I found out that your parents and your brother and sister-in-law were going to be at the performance as well.
Yes.
So now I'm worried because I've got to make a good impression because I like her. So I have to make a good impression on her family. And the night before, I start thinking, is it customary to do something? And flowers come to mind, and I think of the opera, and there's roses being thrown on the stage, and ice skating. They throw all sorts of stuff, stuffed animals, and flowers and all that. And so I got to thinking, am I supposed to do that? Would it be weird if I did, or would it be weird if I didn't? And I didn't know the answer, so I Googled it. And I remember some of the images coming up were little girls getting flowers after a recital. And so I was then worried, thinking, oh, maybe for dance, this is, just for girls and boys, I guess. But anyway, like little kids after a recital. Mm-hmm. And I just imagined like giving you this bouquet of flowers and you're like, mm-hmm. Did you miss where I said I'm a professional?
Oh, no.
I am not a student at a recital?
Yeah.
And then, the other way around, I show up with nothing. And she's like, oh, I guess he doesn't care.
You think in extremes.
Again, yeah. Yeah, it's either, yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to thinking, and I thought, okay, so let's do something, but we don't have to fall into the flower or no flower category, and you can do your own thing. So I thought about a conversation that we had where I found out that she liked Granite City Brewery's chocolate cake. That was her favorite cake.
It's amazing.
And so I go and watch the performance, and then I didn't bring the cake in beforehand because I thought, this is a fancy theater. Oh, also I'd never been there. I didn't know the rules or anything. And I figured, it's a little bit self-obsessed if I call to see if I can bring cake. Like, I know you got a lot going on, but this is important.
Right.
Can I bring cake?
It's for a date.
Thanks for taking my call.
Or a potential date.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I didn't want to call to ask that. So I decided what I'll do is I'll just leave it in the car, and then after the show, I'll just run out and grab it and bring it back. And so I watched the show. Lindsey was awesome. And then I meet her parents and her brother and sister-in-law, and all that goes really well. And I was like, hey, I'll be right back. So I leave, and I go out to the car, I grab the cake, and then I get back to the door, and I go inside, and the door is locked.
Oh, I forgot this part.
The door is locked, and there's no one around. So right now, there's a cast party going on, right?
Yeah.
And so the people that are going to stay are going to be there for a while.
Right.
And the people that have left, like, they left a while ago.
Right.
If they were going to leave, they were gone. And so I'm stuck, and I'm freaking out. And I go all the way around this building. There are two entrances, right?
Mind you, though, this is a bit of a walk. It's a huge building.
It's a huge building, and there's a back that's in the garage. So you have to go all the way around the garage and then around the building. Mm-hmm. And then, the entrance is actually cut into the building. So I actually have to go a good 4 blocks.
Yeah,
probably.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, a good 4 or 5 blocks. And so I pass people on the street, and because I'm in a suit with this Granite City carry-out bag, walking like someone's chasing me.
Well, and it is, January, so it's freezing.
Yeah, and it was January at like 9:30 or 10 at that point, probably.
Yeah, probably.
So, I wonder what they thought my condition was, or my situation was.
It's a cake emergency.
A cake emergency. So then I get around to the front of the building, and I see I don't know, he's an usher or what. He sees me waiting there with the bag, and I wave at him, and he comes over, and I said, I'm friends with the dancer, and I just ran out to my car, and I got locked out. I'm part of the after party upstairs, and he's like, oh, yeah, come on in. So I was like, thought for sure that was going to be a whole thing. No, once you leave, you can't come back or something.
Yeah,
and
full security detail
and then I
or
could
something.
see our successful relationship just melting away at that very moment because this usher took it upon himself to be a guard, sent me away, and all of my hopes and dreams were dashed at that moment. Anyway. So,
a flair for the dramatic.
Yeah, so I get back, and when I get back, it was perfect timing because Lindsey and her family were actually headed to the elevator to go downstairs to leave when I caught up. I actually don't remember what we talked about heading to the elevator.
I don't.
But I didn't mention anything about what was in my hand. And I saw you, and I just totally forgot the dilemma that I had just been in. And so we're riding down in an elevator with Lindsey and her parents. And I remember her dad was on one side of her, and her mom was on the other. And I said, "Oh, and I have this chocolate cake for you." And she smiled, and we were really awkward. But luckily, Lindsey was grinning ear to ear. And so we get out of the elevator, and there was like this, like probably 10 or 15 seconds where no one said anything.
Yeah, no, we were just awkwardly grinning at each other like teenagers.
And your parents were just watching.
Right. Everyone else, because there was a friend of yours also in the elevator with you.
Yes, he was.
And he was also just sort of like, nobody kind of knew what to...
So we leave the elevator, and I said, "Hey, so I was going to get you flowers, but I didn't know if flowers were a thing. And so I thought I'd get you chocolate cake instead." And luckily, Lindsey smiled, and she was like, "Chocolate cake is a thing, too."
I'm pretty sure I affirmed that flowers indeed are a thing, but chocolate cake is a thing, too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's great because it's now a tradition, and kind of everybody who knows me as a dancer knows about this thing, so they'll even ask about it, like, when are you getting your cake at the end of the performance run and things like that, because it's a tradition now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so since Lindsey is the artistic director and runs a professional dance company, whenever we have a cast party, then we always have chocolate cake for everyone.
Mm-hmm. And it's really fun because we get to share that story. And yeah, I just remember thinking, just grinning at you from across the elevator because we were like flat on either side and silence. And we're just like transformed into these like super awkward, love-struck teenagers. Like a relationship isn't even really happening yet, but we think we probably like each other. Yeah, I think that was definitely proof, though, for me, anyway, that you liked me and that you paid attention. That was a big thing, actually. Because you could have just been like, yeah, I think she said chocolate cake and got it from anywhere,
Oh.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing your story about art, Kevin.
Oh, and if anyone wants to hear more about that story...
yes.
And they want to learn more. Maybe, we're speaking right now to someone who's in a similar place.
Mm-hmm. And aspiring
to date a dancer.
Yeah.
And, maybe you're not sure if it's for you or you're not sure if you can hack it. Well, I do have some tips and best practices for courting and dating a professional dancer. So check out Flowers Are a Thing on Facebook, and you will be more prepared.
Yeah.
After reading it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And dancers will definitely get a kick out of it because you're going to relate to all of it too. So yeah, enjoy.
It has its own section.
Yeah, exactly. And that should be enough right there, as we all know. But yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, Kevin. And a couple quick questions if you don't mind.
Oh, no, you're not going to ask me the questions I help you come up with, are you?
Oh, yeah, I am. Okay. So, how do you personally define art, or what is art to you?
Okay, so to me, I think art is taking some base components, some raw material, and forming that raw material into something that a viewer or listener or someone experiencing that in whatever shape or vessel medium that might be, and something that enhances their lives. Whereas you take this piece of paper and this pen and separately you glance over it, but you take those things and you combine that into a moving, I don't mean moving physically, but something that moves the person that sees it. And that is what art is. You have these raw materials that you create an experience from. And I think that's art. And it's on doesn't have to be happy, doesn't have to be sad, doesn't have to be hard to understand, doesn't have to be easy to understand. It's just creating something moving from raw materials.
Ooh, I like that answer. That was awesome.
Okay. I just came up with that, by the way.
Yeah, that was seriously off the fly because we had come up with these questions a while ago, but I don't think he thought they would be used against him, so to speak. Okay, what do you think is the most important role of an artist?
You know, I'm going to kind of cheat because I think it's up to each individual artist, and I think all of the roles of art are important. So you can think of the role of an artist portraying a social issue to bring about positive change. That's so important. But if you have an artist who is really gifted and really enjoys entertaining, a lighthearted entertainment, then I think that that's where they need to go. Then that is just as important of a role as, you know, bringing a social change or whatever, because that's also a social change, actually. And maybe an artist feels that he or she is called to educate through art or inform through art. I think that they are all important, and I feel like it's important for each artist to embrace his or her passion and not conform to what he or she was told is art. Oh, it's not art if, you know, people can understand it, or it's not art unless it's on canvas, or it's not art unless it's to the point where it gets into a museum, or whatever it is that people are told. It's not art if whatever it is. I think whatever an artist's passion is, I think it's important for them to play that role because they're going to do it better than if they were doing something else, and they're going to do it better than someone else who has a different passion as well. So I think they're all important, and the most important thing is to follow your passion. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Okay, final question. Should art be exclusive or inclusive? Exclusive meaning that the artist does his or her job, so to speak, and then it's up to the individual to interpret it without any kind of assistance, whether that's knowing the reason behind the piece or, you know, what inspired it or whatever, versus inclusive meaning that more people would be able to understand it because the artist is going to express the reasoning behind it or the significance of the mediums they've chosen. So for exclusive, this would be, I create this piece and all I ever let anyone know about it is, let's say it's a painting, they just see the painting and that's all I ever say about it. Whereas inclusive would be, if you're not maybe seeing things like I do, this is a painting that was brought on from the time I was in a car accident. Mm-hmm. Right. So you'll notice that a lot of the edges are harder. It makes me think of like, you know, whatever, things like that, like explaining the piece. There may be a placard by the painting or
not just
audible
simply,
track. You put the headphones on and it's me talking about my process and stuff like that.
Right, exactly. So not simply, you know, this is watercolor on canvas, which might be useful, but more about the piece.
Okay, my answer is a super hard inclusive. Just because I haven't been able to enjoy a lot of pieces of art because I didn't know what I was supposed to take from it. I didn't understand, boy, there's a lot of anger. I can see really violent stuff here, but I don't know why. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this person is justified. I don't know what's going on. For me, for an artist not to explain what's going on and say, oh, well, you get what you want to get out of it, well, then most people don't get anything out of it, or they don't get nearly as much as they would if they heard the story behind it or heard the process that created it. And I think that's very important. I don't understand when someone creates something, I don't understand why they wouldn't want everyone to be able to see it the way they're wanting it to be shown.
So to that point, do you feel that there's value, though, in artists creating a completely open-ended piece where even for themselves, their intention behind it was to have a sort of, vagueness?
Yes, I understand the reason behind it, but it frustrates me. Just like every movie that ends without knowing if they're actually going to be together is he actually going to make it out alive. Yes, there's a storytelling element to that, and there's a feeling that it leaves you with of wanting more and this unresolved whatever it is that you're left with that actually leaves a lasting impression. And I understand that that's a part of art, or can be, but it's frustrating to me. I would like to know what happens. I'll go with you. I'll go with you on a story, but take me to the end. Don't leave me hanging.
Right. Excellent. Well, thank you so much again for being part of our podcast today. I am delighted to be able to feature that story. It's a pretty fun one. Of course, I'm a little biased, but it did put him in a very good place right away for me to want to date him. I mean, I already was interested, but you'd shown up to something that was like, you barely knew me at the time and made the commitment and actually followed through, and then you brought me chocolate cake.
Yeah,
which is
fellas,
awesome.
Listen.
Yeah, for real. And cared enough to even have the question, is, are flowers a thing? Which most people, I don't even think it would cross their mind. So yeah. But on that note, thank you so much for listening. And if you have your own stories to share with our listeners, we would love to hear them. So please feel free to contact me at any time, and we will get you set up here in an interview. All right. Well, thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time. If you have a story to share with us, we would love that so much. And I hope your day has been artfully told. Hey there, Artfully Told listeners. I wanted to share a really amazing resource with you that I think you will find invaluable. This website is called Artist's Edge. The mission of Artist's Edge is to raise the level of business intelligence, life skills, and emotional intelligence for people who are committed to expressing their passions, creativity, and unique genius through their careers, helping them reach higher levels of success with ease. Artist's Edge is the education arm of Deborah Russell Coaching, and she is an awesome person who uses all of her business background and skills to really assist artists become who they want to be. She has a bunch of different product courses that you can go through, as well as personalized coaching. If you're a wannabe artist that wants to turn their passion into a career, or is an already established artist that wants to take their career to the next level, she is the person to talk to about this. So please follow the link in my comments and show notes.